This video is brought to you by Keeps. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire upper echelon community. All right, I'm finally back. For those that don't know, I took a vacation because of a head injury, and it was also the holidays, but I'm back now, and I want to talk about the Achilles heel of AI. This is definitely not a secret, at all, but I am squarely in the camp of being against the push for artificial intelligence. I don't think we should be doing it. I think it's wildly dangerous, disruptive to a significantly harmful extent, and flat out stupid to do. But that means nothing, because I don't have an actual say. The Silicon Valley tech bros have decided that this is their newest project, and people like me lamenting the fact that they are once again making the world worse with their blind pursuit of advancement for the mere sake of shareholder profitability and venture capital windfalls, well, let's just say that me complaining about it doesn't really make a difference. Here's the thing. My voice might not make a noticeable difference or move the needle on what is and is not recklessly pursued by certain large companies, but there are voices out there that can, and today we're going to talk about how those voices, the ones that can make a difference, basically have everything they need right now to take a massive shit on the future of AI. Let's dive in. First is context. When I talk about AI, I'm talking about generative AI. I'm talking about OpenAI with ChatGPT. I'm talking about Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, etc., etc. And there's a lot of companies currently devoting themselves to the concept, yes, but the main players for today are OpenAI and Midjourney. Here's the foundation. Generative AI needs to be trained. The ability for someone to plug in a couple sentences and have a photorealistic image produced seconds later is a brand new, rapidly emerging concept, yes, but it's not possible without initial training data. The AI has to learn what something should look like before it can produce images, and that's where things rapidly fall apart. Let's focus for right now on Midjourney. Midjourney is staring down the barrel of a multi-billion-dollar valuation. The Discord-based startup is being used all over the professional landscape right now, and while plenty of people are ethically or morally opposed to using it, the simple reality is that when you can pay a few dollars a month and make images, thousands of them of whatever you want in any artistic style, well, people are going to use that. The best example of this I could probably ever ask for is Wacom. See, Wacom is an industry standard provider of digital drawing tablets, ironically, yet Wacom was using AI-generated images in their advertising campaigns. Strange, right? A company that makes their money from selling physical items to artists was using prompted AI artwork in their promos, so it's a bit of a head-scratcher, but it demonstrates the inherent conflict between artistry and generative AI. See, dozens of companies are now struggling with this, and if it's not the company itself, it's at least the people they hire. Wizards of the Coast, the company behind Magic the Gathering, the card game, recently showcased AI-generated artwork in their promos, then doubled down when confronted over it, denying what was happening, only to then finally admit what was really happening and commit to better evaluation of their vendors. Even Microsoft went down that road, using AI artwork in posts about indie games of all things, but regardless of any individual example, the overarching trend is very, very clear. AI generative artwork is supplanting artists in a variety of different creative jobs and various different fields. Sadly, there's not much an independent artist can ever do to fight against that. Sure, the artist community at large attempted to fight back, staging a day where they changed all of their images on certain portfolio websites to an anti-AI sign, which caused hilarious and very disruptive results in the generative outputs for a time, but the battle was short-lived. Ultimately, they had no effect, and the models went back to normal function after some minor tweaks. So what now? Well, now, given that the title of this video contains the AI Achilles heel, referencing the fabled Greek warrior who was nigh invincible, but for a weak point on his left heel where his mother had held him when he was dipped into the river Styx, thereby protecting the rest of his body and making him almost invincible, now we have to talk about the lawsuits. All right, before going further, it's time for today's video sponsor. The best way to describe this is demographics. The audience for this channel is primarily men, ages 18 to 45, which is the same demographic that often experiences what's called pattern baldness by age 35. Keeps is a hair loss prevention product designed to treat that, with more 5-star reviews than any current competitor. You can order and get treated directly from your own home for about half the cost when compared to other products, and they offer generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss treatments on the entire market. They also offer a 2-in-1 gel that combines them both. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/UEG or click the link down below in the description. That's keeps.com/UEG for a special offer right now, with a link down below in the description of the video. Keeps can help prevent, in some cases actually even reverse the process of hair loss, with treatments that come directly to your door every 3, 6, or 12 months, whatever works best for you. They also have a variety of additional products like shampoo or conditioner, and they have long supported the upper echelon channel, making it possible for me to do what I do full time, but you get the point. Big thank you to Keeps for sponsoring the channel. Okay, here goes. Generative AI is facing its own existential threat because generative AI in practically every single major project out there was trained on copyrighted work. Sticking with the example of Midjourney, though all of this applies to multiple industry-leading projects in the field right now, sticking with the example of Midjourney, we have to look at something called Lion. Lion, L-A-I-O-N, the large-scale artificial intelligence open network, is a nonprofit organization providing datasets. However, the datasets they provide are scraped online. Quote, "The image-text pairs have been extracted from the Common Crawl web data dump and are from random web pages crawled between 2014 and 2021, end quote. Going further, Common Crawl is an open repository that has been used by companies for many years, containing over 250 billion scanned pages. But the way it's being used here by companies pursuing generative AI is a little bit different. See, when you feed copyrighted training data into a tool designed to produce images, it turns out that the program will, sometimes, produce those same images. Midjourney, in particular, has a problem, because when prompted to create iconic figures, or when given descriptive terms from pop culture, even without the actual character names, it will often produce perfect likeness frames from movies, video games, and replicate existing characters or artwork. This is where the term Achilles Heel comes into play. During the meteoric rise of generative AI tools, these companies were contending with small artists and independent creators. The ability for a multi-billion-dollar Silicon Valley tech startup to forge ahead despite the pained outcry of a few individuals is practically effortless, but we're not talking about the property of a few digital painters anymore. We're talking about Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, Nintendo, and a long list of other copyright holders, gargantuan copyright holders, who are witnessing precise replicas of their intellectual property be produced without the name of those characters even being used in the prompt that created them. Hopefully we can start to see the problem. Now, that's already a colossal shift in power because there's a tremendous difference between some no-name 3,000 follower artist on Twitter being mad at you and Disney kicking down the legal front door, but it gets worse. For this next part, I'll be reading alleged Discord messages from two separate people. The first appears to be Midjourney senior engineer Daniel Russell, and the second, Midjourney founder David Holes. Quote from founder David Holes, "I did a lot of city style for generating these. Unless there were names, in which case I did City by Bob Ross. Also, I should be clear, it's not just genres, it's also artist names. It's mostly artist names. 4,000 artist names, 1,000 styles," end quote. Further down, quote again, "So these are pre-rendered, so you can query them fast. It gives you 9 images in 2 seconds at the moment. It should probably be like 0.3 seconds when we optimize. You can use these styles with the prompts, but normally it's too expensive to fully experiment or explore," end quote. In a separate message, Daniel Russell allegedly says, quote, "Just need to launder it through a fine-tuned codex," end quote, while responding to someone expressing hesitation that the datasets are, quote, "just images scraped from the internet for funsies," end quote. Still not done. In yet another exchange, David Holes allegedly says, quote, "The artist names came from Wikipedia and Magic the Gathering. The styles came from Wikipedia, an aesthetic site and an art catalog." Further down, they discuss some 16,000 additional artists to add, and yes, we have an archive of the document itself that they were talking about, which has tens of thousands of artists by name whose work was deliberately scraped, again by name, to train the AI in their unique style, thereby allowing it to supplant them in the professional world as it produces images that are often picture-perfect replications of their copyrighted material that they have previously produced. The issue is twofold and has a lot of supporting evidence. First, the models were directly trained using copyrighted work. That fact is indisputable. For Midjourney, they were trained by hand-picking artists and quite literally stealing their work as input to train it so that people could enter their name in a prompt and replicate the style they spent their life perfecting. However, as egregious as that is, the second half is far more impactful because it isn't the case that merely the style is being replicated with unique overall outputs. No. The models are producing perfectly replicated still frames from famous movie trailers and video games. They are producing perfect likeness images of extremely profitable intellectual property without the names of the subject even existing in the prompt itself, which reframes this from a conceptual question about whether or not training on certain data is a breach of copyright, which is a question that needs to be asked in the courts right now, to a technical one about redistributing copyrighted work to a paying customer base, because that is what's happening. I'm going to do a little live demonstration here. This is Midjourney. This is a paid subscription where US courts, at least so far, have deemed that outputs are void of copyright. And if I open a prompt and I put pop culture, iconic, superhero, movie frame, still cinematic realism trailer, aspect ratio 16:9, basically word soup, but you get the point and you'll see why. What do I get if I hit the enter key right now? I get these. Yeah, these outputs oscillate between basically every single major superhero you would expect to see. They sometimes replicate perfect frames from the actual trailers and films. They use branded logos, actor likenesses especially, and basically they just regurgitate the content they were trained on to a paying customer base. That's the problem. This is by very definition redistribution of copyrighted material. It's a mess. It's a very big mess, in fact, and as of right now, there are multiple different lawsuits from multiple different aggrieved parties for multiple separate reasons. Here's just a few of them. Getty Images, a stock photo repository, filing against Stability AI, which was trained on Lion. That one can set a huge precedent. Visual artists filing a class action against Stability, Midjourney, and DeviantArt, alleging they scraped some 5 billion images without consent for training. And writers filing against OpenAI, claiming that roughly 300,000 books were used to train their flagship product, ChatGPT, without permission from the authors. And in case that still wasn't enough, the New York Times is forging ahead with an action against Microsoft and OpenAI on the basis of unlawful use. The word copyright is complicated. On YouTube, it can mean abuse by major companies towards small creators with regards to 4 seconds of audio or a cover of a song of a melody that they own. But here, the word copyright refers to millions of lines of text, billions of images, and a perfect replication of monetized intellectual property held by multi-billion-dollar companies, all because the Silicon Valley tech bros think that they should be able to just do whatever they want whenever they want. In response, OpenAI has begun offering content licensing deals with extremely small, relatively speaking, that is, dollar values to publishers whose work is being basically illegally used. We're talking about major media firms and global entertainment companies here being offered pennies for the collective usage of all their content. And this indicates to me that there is a very real threat on the table over whether or not generative AI will be allowed to continue training. Even better, they're actually arguing, unironically, that it would be impossible to create ChatGPT-style tools, and they are asking for exceptions in certain jurisdictions, without access to train on copyrighted material for free. Which would mean that with a favorable outcome in court, they would be required to buy said material from basically every single place or person if they want to use it. Whether or not that kills the concept outright, I don't know, or I couldn't care less really. But if it didn't, it would mean that at the very least, people could determine whether or not their life's work should be used to train an AI, and they would then be compensated for it, again, at the very least. Put it this way. This might make a little bit more sense. According to outlet The Information, OpenAI scraped YouTube data for the purpose of training ChatGPT, putting them potentially at odds with Google. But also, I've posted thousands of videos here over the past 7 years, meaning that it's entirely possible some tiny fraction of ChatGPT was trained on my words. That means the scripts I write, 4, 5, 10 pages long in some cases, and the words I come up with are being used to enhance a disgusting pseudo-human farce of a program that is now supplanting actual creative content all over the internet, leading to the, what I call, enshittification of the internet. Obviously, I hold strong anti-AI beliefs, but now it appears that the balance of conflict has shifted. It's not random individuals sounding the alarm and asking for intervention kind of in vain. It's not just the painfully archaic wheels of political power turning for their own benefit and maybe intervening at some point when it's basically too late. No. It's other profit-driven entities who hold actual data-driven power in the markets, realizing that this new technology is a threat to them, or at the very least, stealing from them. Not only that, but thanks to the brazen actions of companies like Midjourney in particular, the extent of their infractions is on full display right now, making it that much easier for additional parties to jump on board if any favorable verdict is reached. And there's, again, multiple different precedent-setting cases working their way through the systems. Until then, we have some waiting to do. These are novel concepts making their way through a court system that has trouble with even the previous decade's technology still, but the idea of copyright has become the AI Achilles heel, because if enforced in basically any fashion whatsoever, it would mean that the content the models are trained on must be rightfully acquired and legally held, not scraped in the shadows without consent from anywhere they can get their dirty little hands on. I know what I'm hoping for. Anyway, that's about it. If you want to support the channel, there are links down below: Patreon, locals, stuff like that, monthly subscriptions. Very quickly, the lawsuit this channel faced from a few months ago is now over. I decided that the legal costs will be paid out of pocket by Upper Echelon, and I'm honored to have a community that was willing to support me in the way that all of you did. That support should be met with equal respect, in my opinion, so with that in mind, everyone who donated to the GoFundMe will be entitled to a full refund if they want one. The logistics on that still need to get worked out, by the way. I'm actively communicating with GoFundMe support staff right now through email, so it could be that everyone gets a full refund through the platform itself, which is ideal. That's what I'm hoping for. Or I may have to do it off-platform, in which case I would also offer the option for donors to give it to a non-political charity, cancer research, something like that, if they choose, or let Upper Echelon keep it for channel projects if they choose that. But it's a work in progress. I'll keep everyone informed every step of the way. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll cut it there and stop rambling. Have a nice night.